Welcome everyone to Little Tokyo 2's new podcast series From Startup to Growup. We offer short, sharp 20-minute overviews and interviews of successful founders, as well as 40-minute extended founder interviews with successful people who have graduated from LT2. I'm your host, founder and CEO of LT2, Jock Fairweather. Morning, Jason. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jock. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'm keen to know and talk about three things. One is what you were doing before SmartBooks and Stark Naked Numbers. Then I want to know about SmartBooks and I want to talk about the journey you've been on, because in my opinion, I think you've been with us or around me for almost 4 years, maybe-ish.
Since day one.
Day one?
Literally
there you are.
Moved in when the HQ was rubble.
Legit day one, perfect. And then now since the launch of Stark Naked Numbers, I saw that you were signing books yesterday. I better get a signed one. Anyway, you can just sign it right now. Either way, in Stark Naked Numbers, you mention about the journey you had prior to SmartBooks Online and some difficulties you had. I'm keen to hear about that. It's pretty raw in the book, or at least the first versions that I read. So can you tell me a bit about that, what happened, etc.?
Absolutely. So I actually want to go further back from before my career in accounting, was going back to the decision as to why I decided to become an accountant. So when I was growing up, I came from a very middle class, traditional kind of Australian family. My parents were not business owners. They were just, my dad was in the Air Force as a public servant. My mum always just worked odd jobs, ranging from cleaning to waiting tables. And so from a young age, we didn't have a great deal of financial wealth, I would say, but we had a really great lifestyle. And what I could see though was, I saw there were always the rich kids at school, and getting to know the people with a bit of money, you could understand how their lifestyle, or what their possibilities were, and how different they were to my current circumstances. And so from that age, I was actually genuinely interested in the power of money and how money can limit lifestyle, but also unlock freedom.
For sure.
And so my first delve into personal finance was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and I still lean on that book and actually reference that book within my book, Stark Naked Numbers. And the power of that book really helped me understand or frame what money was. And it's not about buying all these luxury goods.
It's energy.
It's energy, it's freedom, right? And to me, it's like Anthony Robbins has a saying, working, money. It's like choose to work because you want to, not because you have to.
Yes.
Right? And money can give you that opportunity. Yeah. So from a young age, I was interested in money, and naturally, I wanted to invest. Right. So I tried to buy my first shares at the age of 14. Virgin Blue was IPOing by the ASX, and I ordered a prospectus under my mum's name because I had to be 18 at the time. And so I got this bloated prospectus. It was like this giant, I don't know if you've read a prospectus before.
What do they start as?
It's literally like this bright yellow, bright red, like really flashy logos. And it's like 3 kilos. They're really heavy, and it's just full of crap.
And when they floated, how much?
I can't remember. I can't remember the numbers at the time because again, I wasn't a numbers guy.
Yeah, right.
I have no idea whether I should invest in this company.
Virgin's just a cool brand.
Exactly. Richard Branson, awesome. We travelled frequently, so I got those things going for me. So I looked at it, and so I read that all informed investors should look at the numbers. Yeah. So I flicked to the financial section of the prospectus. Yeah. And all I saw was like this P&L, balance sheet, and all these notes, and I was like, whoa, cool. What does any of this mean? And so I spent my nights researching, this is dial-up days of internet. Yeah. So I'd probably spend, half an hour to 5 hours, depending on the internet connection speed at the time, trying to understand what these numbers were saying, right? And I couldn't get it. I had no idea.
The dial-up internet speed probably gave you time to reflect, though.
100%.
Rather than just jam more info in your face.
Well, I think the real reality was I was trying to download 5 songs on LimeWire at the same time. So I was trying to research all these, financial metrics or what investors look for in numbers, and to be honest, it was one in one ear, out the other. It was all jargon, complete. I just couldn't gauge the numbers. So then I kept researching. I learned about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's like, this really successful investor. So everyone I was speaking to said, read about Warren Buffett. So I read about Warren Buffett. And again, to be honest, he spoke in tongues as well. He's super old school, very, very dry in the way he talks. But there was one quote that resonated with me, and that was, accounting is the language of business. And so that was the day I decided, well, if I really want to take this numbers thing seriously, I'm going to become an accountant, because they're numbers people, right? And so that was the day I decided to become an accountant. Fast forward kind of 7 years, I spent over a decade in a corporate firm, dealing with range of businesses, ranging from small business, family-owned run businesses to ASX-listed companies, even government. And one of the things I saw was that all the greatest businesses uncover all the flashy branding or the marketing. You get to see the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. And one of the things that you can see is you can understand the financial disciplines or the habits that separated the successful businesses from the ones that were poor performing. And a lot of those principles and tactics I brought along with me and learned and actually tried to implement in my own business. And so the reason why I started SBO now, or SmartBooks, was two reasons. The first one was, if I really wanted to build true wealth of my own, I knew I had to start a business. And starting a business was the reason why I got into accounting, was to learn the numbers, to become a business owner. However, when you're stuck in that corporate journey, I don't know if you've worked in a big four accounting firm, it is a rat race, man. It's literally a rat race, and everyone is just trying to get to the top.
Have you met me before? Dude, as I get smarter, my clothing style gets worse.
I'm starting to dress like you now.
Yeah, no, it's so bad.
It's like 4 years ago I was wearing suits every day. Now I'm wearing t-shirts and sneakers. But the corporate journey is literally, it's a marathon, and everyone's goal is to get to senior advisor, then senior advisor to manager, manager to partner, partner to owner. And it's this long, long journey. It's full of like red tape, bureaucracy, all the crap that you hear about in large corporations. It's that 10x because you're dealing with accountants. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this proper, I'll have to start it myself. And so we started SBO 4 years later and haven't looked back.
So when you first started SBO, I mean, it was kind of like, it seemed like you solo, you do the accounting / bookkeeping for kind of anyone. And today it seems like from the outside that you have almost found a specialization as such in more so startups in a certain sort of revenue bracket. And because your partner is Rowan Grant from Full Circle / Blackbird, you're able to actually do valuations and a whole bunch of things as well that I couldn't see, or I don't really know any other accounting groups that can do anything like that. So how has the journey progressed since you had day one and HQ shithouse rubble to today in the Capital boardroom?
What I love about being in business, and what I love about just making decisions generally, is that you always start with an assertion. And that assertion might be, this is the problem we're going to solve, and we're going to throw resources at it, we're going to commit time to proving that assertion. And at the time, when we first started, our assertion was coming from the world you was an accountant. So at that time, we thought bookkeeping, as in, your financial processing data, was poorly done by a lot of people, a highly fragmented industry. A lot of accountants, I was an accountant, was very frustrated with referring work to bookkeepers because you just didn't know what the quality was like. So we started SmartBooks Online, very literally doing online bookkeeping for smart people. And so we started with that, and the assertion at the time was people don't care about their books. All they want is some faceless interface where there's just going to be a website with no people in there. People are going to upload their Xero file or an accounting file. There'll be widgets and robots and people in the background crunching your data. Every month you'll get an email to say, hey, your accounts are done, and everyone will be happy.
And just don't let whatever it is, don't let the tax office be calling me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Completely wrong, right? And when we reflecting on those within 3 months, realised that, okay, this is not going to work. And the reason why is we asked ourselves the question, would I outsource my own accounts to some faceless interface? No, absolutely bloody not, because your numbers and your finance function is the most intimate part of your entire business. I see what expenses a Jock Fairweather's putting through his direct design account.
bulk coffees and breakfasts at Jimmy's on the Mall.
and maybe other things, but we'll keep that between us. So we know all these things, right? And so there's a high degree of trust, right? People, and finance is a very sensitive thing.
Yeah.
And look, we don't talk about their numbers. And so we figured, well, we have to go full opposite. We need to be high touch. We need to be high trust. And we need to show our face and be basically.
But that's the opposite reason as to why you started it, which was to be online and be able to scale it.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
And to an extent, we have what's meant is our average fee that we charge. So we're a SaaS-based business model, so we charge a monthly retainer for the work that we do. What's been fascinating to look at our numbers is that our ARPU, or average revenue per month per client, has 10x literally since day one.
Yeah.
And our target number of clients has reduced.
Yeah.
Because we're getting more quality value clients, and they're worth more to us. And to be honest, it's probably more of a more sustainable long-term model, as opposed to the churn and burn businesses that we're both familiar with.
Yes, that's right. And so some of the valuation stuff and some of the more like startup oriented books that I've seen you do for companies we're trying to help raise, why have you gotten into that sort of zone?
So my background in accounting is corporate advisory. So we did a lot of mergers and acquisitions, a lot of financial due diligence, a lot of financial modelling. And although we had that skill set, that capability in our wheelhouse, we never really offered it as a service because we're so laser focused on just trying to solve the first problem, which was accurate financial data for businesses. After about 5 or 6 times, we've been asked by 6 different people to say, hey, can you help me with this X, just due diligence, or can you help me do this financial model?
Yes.
We figured, well, if people are asking for it, it probably means that you should
be doing it.
It should be a business, and it pained me because I've spent so much time trying to market
something else,
which wasn't, I thought, aligned to the vision. But then people throwing work at us for the other stuff, and so at the time,
they're probably the smart people though.
Exactly.
There's other 6,
and they're the ones we want to work with. So we saw that as initially we thought it was a distraction, but then we kind of broadened our perspective and saw, no, it's an opportunity because it enables us to help a business through their entire life cycle of growth. Yeah,
that's awesome. So what is the plan for SBO? I mean, there's how many of you now?
So we've got a team of 10 in Australia, and then a couple of teams in India and the Philippines.
Yes.
So I'd say probably 20 plus now.
Yes. And so what's the goal? What are you trying to achieve with SBO?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the goal is, we have a 40-year vision.
40?
Yeah.
Holy.
We think very long term, and I think
you'll be like 70 something.
Yeah, easily. And initially, I tell everyone this, initially the goal when we first started the business was to scale and exit the company, as most finance background, most startups, raising money and exiting. So at the beginning, that was very much the goal. So we'll, get be first mover into the space, scale heaps of clients, scale our revenue, and then roll up and sell it to a big 4 firm.
Yeah.
Right? Probably 2 years in, we decided that no, I actually enjoy what I'm doing, and if I was going to sell it, I'll probably start another business.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
The business I'll start will probably be in the same space
Similar.
I'm in right now. So why don't we not sell and choose profit over growth?
Yes.
And grow in our own terms.
Yes.
And
freedom.
And freedom, 100%, which is why I got into the business right at first, going back to Tony Robbins. So it all goes full circle.
Yes.
Right? And so, and I think that just adjustment, so we had a 5-year time frame where we had like these unrealistic, crazy growth targets. I was, the entrepreneur life, waking up with anxiety every morning to say that, crap, I need to sell 2 customers today. Yeah. And if I don't, we're going to be short, right? Yeah. And we're not going to hit our goal. Yeah. That living with that constant stress and anxiety is not healthy for anyone. No. But as soon as you say, hey, listen, instead of 5 years,
what's the point of that goal?
Exactly. What's the reason? And the reason was because of ego, or because we felt that we need to scale the company and sell it, right?
It's ego, dude.
So we said, well, set yourself 40 years. Yeah. That's okay. 40 years is a long time.
Now it's so much more chilled.
Yes. We can control our growth. We choose the clients we want to work with.
And in 40 years, you'll be enormous.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to be.
If you want to be, exactly. And, compound growth is a powerful thing, and it's undervalued. And, even if you grow at 3% month on month.
#Warren Buffett.
Exactly. It is the hockey stick.
Yeah.
over a 4-year term as opposed to a 3-year term, which is crazy.
Actually, the best thing I've read all of Warren Buffett's books, not that I follow a single thing that he says. I'm not that kind of guy. I can just make magic, apparently. Anyway, one of the things he said that I really liked, and I don't think it's good, as you can't use this as an excuse, and I can't remember the total context, I'm not a detail guy, clearly, but one of the companies that he invested in, it was like a company that had been going for quite some time. It was super well known. They just made some sort of mistake. And let's say they were in a $10 million hole. I can't actually remember the number. Doesn't matter. But he called all of his investors and he said, the legacy this company has, the following it's got, the core that it's built, all these things, you can't lose it for $10 million. We just can't lose all of that. And I think, again, this is not applicable to everyone, but I do see companies that I truly believe in that have made mistakes here and there that just need help out of a hole. I've done it. I've done it a couple of times, and I think the value long term of that company is so much more than just the 10 mil that it needed. I really love that perspective, and I think it's sort of in line with what you said around the 40-year kind of thing. You might make a massive mistake. I don't know what it might be. And if you truly are building a brand rather than a set of products, and you've got this core following and vision and meaning, then the 10 mil or the 10 grand or whatever it is to get you out of the hole, I think is absolutely worth it.
100%. And if you look at a time frame span over 40 years and say you have hiccups at the 10th year, you see that, this is just a speed bump at the quarter mile of the marathon I'm running. Which, if you look at take a step back in the long-term perspective, it gives you that patience and gives you perspective. I think too much entrepreneurs, we're operating in trenches every day. We're just grinding. We're trying to make payroll. We're just trying to do the daily things, and not often enough do we step back and actually look at the house that we've built, look at the business that we've built, and actually be proud of what we've done, and know that yes, there's a long way ahead of us, but it's okay. We'll fight through it and we'll keep going.
How many of the guys that or girls that are truly nailing it have done it within 20 years? Like basically none. I mean, there's the lucky ones. But all the guys I know, super high net worth, like worth 100 mil plus, let's say, I think the least one of them has worked on the same one company's 25 years. The most I know is 57 years.
What I love about business is nowadays everyone's like, hey, your business is worth nothing if you don't have a website, you don't have a social media following. You drive around to like the industrial areas of Brisbane and you look at all these like crappy, shitty warehouses and all these old trucks and think, oh, what a crap business. Mate, those guys have been around for 30 years plus. Highly likely intergenerational, so they've gone through succession. And they're probably more widely profitable, generating free cash flow and returns to their investors greater than any startup or any small business in the city.
My dad's been running his company for 56 years. He still faxes people. Fax and call only. True. And he would have a lot more money than anybody listening to this.
It's awesome, right? And so when you really see that, you think, oh, okay, wow. Like, for sure. And they've been around for a long time. So I think that the tenure of a business is a reflection of how robust the business is.
Totally. And the experience that original founder has, like he would know every in and out of everything ever in that industry. 100%. And that's so invaluable.
And that's what's exciting, because now we're only 4th year in business. I know you're a fairly young business owner as well. We've got a lifetime of learning ahead of us. And who knows what it could be 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Totally.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, Stark Naked Numbers, your new book, uncover your financials, unlock your cash, and unleash your profits. I was lucky enough to be one of the people that sort of got the different chapters as they were released. You did this really interesting thing where you kind of got a core group of people that were able to review almost chapter by chapter, give feedback on the name, give feedback on everything. I love that. I'm keen to know, where do we get them? What am I going to learn from it? What else? I mean, if anyone is on LinkedIn, you also post things on Medium and so on, but Jason Andrews, he's like, I'm so impressed. I think you're a better writer than you are an accountant, but that's fine. Tell us about Stark Naked Numbers.
So I wrote Stark Naked Numbers, which is my first book, and probably hopefully the first of many, to really the mission of the book is to change the worldview of accounting. So I think that a lot of founders that I work with, a lot of business owners that I work with, don't really respect or pay attention enough to their financials. And I think two reasons. I think the first reason is that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of hype when it comes to entrepreneurship nowadays. There's a lot of vanity metrics that people talk about, and I'll use an example, right? So when you read TechCrunch or VentureBeat or any of the the media publications of startups, you'll see headlines of these great hyper growth, super whiz bang companies, talking about how much capital they've raised,
Losing bulk money.
or how much headcount they've got, how many staff they've hired, or what's their revenue growth as a percentage. Now, raising money is not an indicator of success, right? There are plenty of companies that raise buckloads of money and
It's probably the opposite.
100%.
Yeah.
It's almost you've given away part of your company almost
Because you couldn't do it.
because you couldn't do it, right? Also, don't remember the last time anyone made a song and dance because their bank loan was approved, right?
Yeah.
Equity is just a source of funding, right? No different to the bank loan, right?
Yeah.
So take that.
Yeah.
Employee headcount, number of employees that you have is not an indicator of success. In fact, you can have the opposite effect because you just have heaps of people that have no idea what they're doing.
It's a Telstra versus WhatsApp
100%.
story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's that? What they sell? We had like 8 staff or something.
Something
like,
billion. Each staff member's worth 345 million or some rubbish like that.
Insane.
Insane.
And the third one is revenue growth as a percentage, right? It's easy to say you've grown 1,000% revenue growth
From
if
zero.
you've gone from $1 to $1,000,
Yeah.
right? All vanity metrics. So what really matters when it comes to building a successful long-term business is profitability and free cash flow, right? You need to generate your own cash flow in the form of profits.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you can do it. You can get, of course, you can borrow money from banks and investors, but they're also a very short-term strategy. Both of them want their money back eventually. So I think we need to go back to the core of what it means to build a financially successful business, and that goes down to your numbers. And so that's one of the reasons why I wrote it. The second was I wanted to start the conversation about finance and accounting. So I think there's a lot of thought leaders and gurus on the internet, like from Ty Lopez and all these guys about, Facebook hacks and all these ways to crush your sales. But there wasn't really anything there for entrepreneurs to learn about their numbers. And so I asked myself, why isn't there? Number one, accounting is boring. So most people think, oh God, like what content is there for entrepreneurs to learn about their numbers? Antiquated university textbooks.
Doing it is boring, but
Well,
reading your numbers and analysing them is really interesting, I think.
Yeah, and me too. Obviously, we share the same perspective, but I think some people don't get exposed to that world because they're either too busy trying to make payroll or they're too busy doing other things. So I really wanted to write a book that really showed people the opportunity and the stories that your owners can tell you.
It's awesome, man. Well, you didn't finish. Where do we get it?
Oh yes, so we're available on Amazon.
Yeah.
Just go to starknakednumbers.com and you'll see links there to buy the book.
Amazon Australia.
Everything global.
Amazon everything.
Yes.
Awesome.
They're everywhere.
Very good. I love it. Thanks so much for your time, dude. You're a legend.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Jock.
Cheers, bro.
And that's it for another week with our podcast series From Startups to Growups. If you enjoyed that, you can find out more about Little Tokyo 2 on www.littletokyo2.com, and you can find more of our podcasts on soundcloud.com/Little Tokyo 2. Thank you and speak to you next week.